Hello, I'm Steve McCauley and I'm interviewing Nadine Exter about her book Employee Engagement with Sustainable Business. Now Nadine, give me some background and the rationale for the book.
Well, back in 2009 I actually wrote a guide on how to develop a champions network to create sustainable businesses. And at the time there were a lot of companies asking us, we have these employees who are emerging, who are interested, and they want to find out how they can get involved, but we don't know how to coordinate them, we don't know what motivates them, how to manage them. And the Champions Guide, all the way back in 2009, went down very well, but that started us in a stream of thought of, we know that there are champions, what other employees are there, what are they doing? And that led us over the next 2 to 3 years to look at the different types of employees, what they're doing, the difference that they're making in organisations, and importantly, why. At the same time, however, we were dealing with our students who, anything from 24 up to 40-year-olds, and also with new, recently graduated students who are going out into the business world. And they were saying to us, we want to take our personalities and our values into the workplace. We're a little bit disappointed because we're getting into the workplace and we're feeling like we're having to leave them at the door. And we want to figure out, well, how can we not do that? How can we go into a workplace and feel part of the workplace with who we are, with our values? How can we make a difference? How can we find the opportunities and get excited by the opportunities? And so these two streams of thought came together, and that's what created the book.
So if we move on and I said to you, what are the headlines from the book, the key messages that really stand out, what would you say?
For me, there's probably two main key messages. One, as an employee, there are some really exciting opportunities. Even though we know that there are issues going on in the world with environmental problems, with social problems, we know that climate change is going to be causing a lot of intergenerational injustice and issues. Still, if we look today, for you, the person who's reading this book, or an employee who's just joined an organisation, there are actually some really great and exciting opportunities for things that they can do inside the organisation, whether they create them for themselves or whether they're opportunities that the company or their managers want them to take and are asking them to take. And that should be seen as something really great to be able to be part of. So that's a really key message for me, is look around where you're working and see how exciting and what you can be part of, the difference that you can make. The second key message on behalf of organisations is you have an amazing employee base. No matter what organisation you are, you have people who have values, who have individual personalities, but who want to be part of something. They want to contribute. They want to be part of this identity that where they can strengthen who they are and they can be part of something bigger on a global scale as well. Tap into that. Look to your employees, treat your employees with the opportunities that will help your business and will help society and will help them.
Now, I was particularly interested in the book that you've identified some different categories of employees that will particularly act as catalysts for change in this area.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you say a bit about that?
Sure. There are actually 6 types of employees we identified, but leaders, which is the 6th type that we don't talk about in the book, there's actually quite a lot that's written about that. And John Elkington and Donna Ladkin, who works at Cranfield, is a professor at Cranfield, they've done some really good research around that. So we focus on the 5 where there isn't currently much writing on. And they are unsung heroes, which is an odd title, but the reason we chose that title is because they are addressing the culture of organisation, the culture of how we do things and why we do things, which guides us in our behaviour and guides us in our motivation. It's the foundation for how an organisation operates, the way that it operates. And they are looking at these systems, these intangible ways of doing things, to understand how is that making us a better organisation. And they're not very obvious. Often they're more obvious when they're not doing what they're doing and things start to go awry. So that's how we came up with this term unsung heroes. And they could be sitting in the HR team, they could be sitting in the C-suite, or they could be sitting in the sustainability team as well. So that was a category, and there's a chapter where we talk about that, or I talk about that. The second one is actually one of the newest emerging professions in the field of management, and that's a sustainability specialist. And they have been around in one form or another, probably for the last 20, 30 years, initially as health and safety experts, then emerging as environmental experts. But their role has started to become much bigger and much more strategic. And the sustainability specialist today often sits at the director level, the C-suite level, and they'll have a team beneath them, and they're actually making huge impact. And as this profession is developing, we're starting to codify what this profession is, what the skills are, what the career paths, what the training and development that they need. And it's quite an interesting profession, and to see it now in its state where it's emerging right now, and to follow it through, it's quite interesting. And the second chapter looks at quite a few of these emerging professions and how they've fallen into this new profession. There are the champions then, which is in the 2009 guide when I look at a champions network. And a champion is an employee who has a personal passion in a particular issue, be it a social issue, an environmental issue, something that is personal to them, and they're in the workplace and they see an opportunity. Oh, I can encourage my company to recycle, or I care about raising money for this particular charity. And they gather a group of employees around them to help focus on that specific issue, and they also find how is this helping the organisation, and this is helping other employees to be part of something bigger, and they champion that cause. So that's another area, another cluster of employees that we identified, and they have become a really powerful, the network of champions have become a really powerful tool for organisations to implement change for sustainability or for being a responsible organisation. So it's really worth looking at that as a network as well. Then there's this very new, there's actually two very new emerging types of employees, social entrepreneurs and godparents, and they're actually quite linked. And social entrepreneurs, there's very little written on it at the moment. It's really an emerging observation. And the team in the Doughty Centre are really researching that at the moment. So it's quite fresh and quite new. And social entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs, as you would expect to see outside, but they work inside an organisation. And they see the win-win opportunity of what an organisation is doing or could be doing with a benefit for society or for environment. So they see very much what's going on in the outside and that connection between the outside of the organisation and inside, and where there is a great opportunity to happen. And there are some lovely examples of initiatives that have happened. Mobile finance is a great example of that. That actually started 10 years ago from an initiative of a social entrepreneur, because they saw an opportunity of, there's all these people who have telephones but they don't have banking. How can we actually find how this works for them? And they find that sweet spot between a social good or an environmental good and a business good. But there's always a social angle, and they're working from within organisations. So they are the social entrepreneurs. Then there are the godparents, which we actually identified by interviewing the other types. And all these other types of employees were saying, there's always somebody who has helped me along the way. They have opened a door for me, they have introduced me to the right people, they have politically helped me in the organisation. Now these godparents are very hard to find because they are not the champions standing up saying this is a really important issue. They get their buzz, their enthusiasm and their interest from helping others. They may have a passion, and the examples in the book, the two that we talk about, do have a passion for sustainable business, but that's more coincidental. The group that we looked at, their passion is actually more in helping others, in helping them to navigate the political circumstances of the organisation and to be able to achieve things. And they get a real satisfaction from that. And so that was our sixth type of employee. And that's very new as well.
Interesting. I mean, aside from, if you like, an academic interest of saying, oh yes, these are these different types, when you're in an organisation, if you're leading an organisation, you know, if you're wanting to move sustainability forward, what use is this defining the categories?
It's very powerful because employees, the way to change an organisation to make it more sustainable or more responsible or to enhance what you already do, it's a change programme. But a change programme is about changing everyone's behaviour and mindset. It's not about a small team of people sitting at the side of the organisation doing good things. It's about how the whole organisation breathes in and breathes out, how it operates. And that means every single employee has to be on board. They have to understand how their behaviours are helping or harming the organisation as a whole, and also society, the impact that has on society and the environment. They have to understand that. So you have to get into the conscious and the DNA of the organisation. And the way to do that is by working directly with those very people, those employees. It's not just the CEO, it's not just a small group of people, it's all these employees. And so a good way to start is to start to say, well, here are some champions who are saying, I'm here, I want the opportunity, help me have this opportunity. Here are some social entrepreneurs who are doing some great things as well. How can we work with them? So it's a good way to actually tangibly start to identify those in the organisation that want to be part of this. It's a global social movement that's happening across the whole world. For me, what's really important is, I think last year for the Rio 20 summit, there were 1 billion commitments made from around the world of people saying, I want to do something different. I want to change my behaviour to be more sustainable, to be more responsible. 1 billion commitments out of a global population of 7 billion. Now that means anyone sitting in an organisation, some colleague next to them, someone in their organisation nearby made a commitment. This is not a small underground movement. These are all employees wanting to get involved. They're waiting there to be tapped, for somebody to come and knock on their shoulder and say, hey, let's talk. And this is a good way, identifying these people is a good way to start that ball rolling.
So out of your research in the book and then writing the book and so on, would you like to leave people with a key message, a call for action if you like, that says, out of this I want to leave you with one thing in particular? What would it be?
The one key thing is you can make a difference. It's not about your CEO doing something, although that is great. It's not about the specialist doing something, although that is great. It's about you. It's about me, it's about you, it's about anyone can make a difference. You don't have to stand up and be a vocal champion if that's not the route that's right for you. You don't have to change your profession. You may be a marketeer, you may be someone who works in supply chain, and that's your true passion. But you can make a difference in your day job, in what you're doing. And you can do it to the benefit of your company and to the benefit of society. Now, isn't that amazing to be able to be part of something where you can make a real difference just by doing small things, or big things if you want to, and not by changing your job, not by leaving and setting up your own organisation, but by taking control of what you're doing, looking at what you're doing and taking these opportunities. That for me is really exciting. If we all can sort of see those opportunities together, even if they're little actions and you think, oh, they're not going to make a difference. They do. They make a difference, and that's the really exciting thing.
Nadine, there's some powerful messages there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.